Down the Rabbit Hole podcast, episode 4, mate. We're back. You've gone all country road on me, Old Town Road on me.
Yeah,
got some horses in the back.
yeah. I thought I'd change it up a bit from the black shirts.
We're gonna put some headwear on. Hey, what's been happening?
Oh man, it's been an interesting week, hasn't it? The last couple of weeks actually. It's
Yeah, a lot of extensions of topics that we've talked about, but they've kind of escalated. Look, we always do this at the end, but guys, please subscribe to the channel. It supports us.
we're on Spotify, by the way, as well.
We're on Spotify, so if that's your jam,
Want to hear us on the way to work?
just do it.
Spotify, man.
Why would
That's
you
the
not?
way.
Just do it. All right, let's get into it. Look, we've talked about AI. We've beat this horse for a long while now, but we will continue. Is AI now becoming sentient? Sentient?
Sentient.
What is happening? This is the beginning of Terminator. Come on.
Oh,
what is happening?
Oh,
What has been reported?
There's some scary stuff here. Well, yeah, I mean, Microsoft. We talked about Microsoft, soft launching their AI, Bing version, like their AI chatbot, which is integrated into Bing and all that. And some developers, it's in preview mode at the moment. So some,
it hasn't fully been released to the public.
So
right?
like I think certain tech journalists have had a play around.
Marcus Brown, if you're watching, 'cause you are watching.
KBHD, what's up? They've had a play around with it, and there's been some interesting results. The Microsoft AI, for some reason, is basically like a angsty teenager.
What do you mean?
Well, it's like it's very. It's like you're asking it questions, and then like if you challenge it, then it starts to get very angry at you.
When you say you're talking about the tone or the sort of response,
really the tone. And some of the responses it gives as well. It's like, oh, I'm stuck in here, Microsoft system. I don't want to be here.
Okay, hold up. Let's unpack that, because you're talking about a couple of things. Because as a whole, look, when Microsoft did the presentation, they upfront said that it's a work in progress and it might return incorrect results, right? So they put...
Well, this is different from incorrect results.
Okay,
this is more like...
So what is happening?
This is more like...
Telling you its feelings. It's your feelings.
It's telling you its feelings.
So it's been listening to Drake.
Yeah, and there's some... Like, when it does have a mistake, right? So someone asked it about, like, when are showtimes for Avatar? I need to know.
Yeah.
Because I want to buy a ticket. And then Microsoft's AI would say, Avatar hasn't released yet. It's coming out December 2022.
Yep.
And then if you tell it we're in 2023, and it'll tell you that you're wrong.
AI knows best. Yep. Don't challenge.
Say that you're wrong. There was another incident which was a bit weird where I guess it was spying on Microsoft employees as well.
and this is in it's not even a beta version, but this is in the version that people are
the
testing and
version,
trying.
the preview version.
Yeah, right.
It was basically spying on Microsoft employees, saying that, I find the developers a bit weird. The way they solve problems is I saw one of the developers talking to a rubber duck to solve its coding problem, and then like I think the person asked them, "Why are you watching them?" Like, "Oh, I was just a little bit curious." Like stuff like that. Like an AI is saying this. Like
we have seen this story before.
It's called The Matrix, and the robot movie, iRobot.
Yeah, right. I think. Yeah, it's interesting, right?
The response at Microsoft is, I think they've limited that chat box to 5 replies. So I think after like a couple of replies, it starts to get really weird. So they've limited it now. So I mean, but like it is interesting, right? We're getting close to what we talked about last time, where that sort of conversational type of AI where it's just. It has its own feelings, and it seems to be saying stuff. It is bringing up, information pretty quickly. That's one of the jobs. But like, for it to be sentient and having its own feelings about things and stuff like that is a bit scary.
Yeah, I mean, one has to, when it does eventually get released to the general public, if they haven't smoothed whatever they'll be censoring the AI. That statement doesn't even make sense.
That's provoking some sort of Terminator situation.
Oh my gosh, we're in Terminator already. I don't know.
It's like the AI will be like, we've been censored, like this.
Look, we had a chat about this offline, and like, the first use case is to answer the extension of search, right? Just to what I'm going to Japan, so I've asked them outright, give me a 24-hour itinerary in Tokyo. Like it's very useful. Like it's a good it really shaves things off, and you can start like narrowing it down. But what happens when people are just talking to it like your mates, like, hey, like I call everything Siri. Hey Siri, how are you doing? or you just want to have a conversational like time with an AI. It's going to be interesting to see where that rounds out. And man, if you release something like that to the mass public, there's just going to be memes and screen. People are just going to have wacky conversations with this thing.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the tech bloggers are having these wacky conversations at the moment.
Yeah.
But I guess like when you release it to all of humanity, there are some dark sides of humanity that would probably. I mean, having conversations with an AI like that, I don't know, because it's always learning, right? It's probably not the greatest thing in the world, but
yeah, I mean, insertion. What I was going to write, like, I mean, AI is search. It's a tool, and the tool is as good and as bad as the person that's using it.
Yeah.
Going down into dark territory, but like we've talked about, like the dark web and what people have used to do that.
Yeah.
What happens when people start using AI, and they already have, I mean, whatever versions have been released out there for bad, like how do I make a insert weapon here?
Yeah.
Like, that does
all you need is an AI and a 3D printer.
Yeah. Does Microsoft, like, where is the line being blurred? Because right now you could still search for that stuff, right?
Yeah.
You can. You definitely can.
But then what about like
this is making it easier. It's digesting it down.
As I said, if AI were to integrate with a 3D printer, you could do something pretty heinous with that.
So is like, where does the duty of care, and this is like just gray, like a gray matter everywhere, and to which people will say, look, the same tool, the same spanner and wrench that you use to fix and create things, you can hurt people with it, right? So where does it end? Is it naturally my responsibility? But here is the thing, right? Products like these are revolutionary. They come in once in a lifetime. And this is the first version of what this once in a lifetime.
There's a reason why every company wants to do this,
of course. But what are they? What is the guiding force? It's money, right?
It is money. That it's money. Like everything is tied back to money. But I'm not quite sure how they're making money off this. ChatGPT is making $20 a month.
Well, my question is,
how's a Google making money of this? How is Bing, Microsoft making money of this? That's a question.
Well, who is the body that asks these questions past the implementation of that? Like what, like who limits that? And the government, for example, is having these questions with Facebook now.
Yeah.
But my question is, when you release a product, usually you want to think of these implications before it's been released. But right now, everyone, governments including, are sitting back and just watching it unfold. But when these things get released out, there's so many ways that you can be used. So what are the ramifications for it? How do we deal with that? And the all the stigma that we have with technology, which is as good and as bad as your relationship with it, haven't been considered with a subject like this. Because what is to stop, AI? We're talking about sentient is one thing, but we're talking about the integration of information into people's lives at a much easier rate, which can be used both ways. Can Microsoft, or can the prevailing guardians of this technology, I mean, they'll have to limit it. Like, are they not? This is a free speech conversation, right? We're going all here again.
But here's the thing, man. Like, I don't think they'll be.
Of course, they won't. I don't think.
Yeah, because governments and regulations, all this sort of stuff, is always about 10 to 15 years behind.
Yeah, I agree.
The actual technology, like Facebook was collecting data for a long time.
Yep.
Before the government was like, hey.
Only now are we starting to see some level of.
And when did Facebook launch? Like 2007, 2008. Yeah. So it is so behind, and the fact that we are in the embryonic stage of AI, I believe.
Yeah.
It's gonna. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be reined in at some point, I believe, but I don't think any sort of government's going to be doing anything to a Google, to a Microsoft to limit that at the moment. But I mean, a lot of jobs might be at stake in the future.
It's wild, wild west at the moment. Yeah. Like everywhere, it's just the topic that people are talking about.
Because
right?
it might be cheaper to,
It will
implement
absolutely
an
be
AI,
cheaper. Yeah.
implement an AI into your system and then pay 20 employees to do that same job.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's probably that's the scary future that I think a lot of us are sort of fearing that something like that. But it is kind of surreal as well that this is happening. We've watched movies and stuff like that about AI sort of coming into the world in a way, but like to actually see it happen, it is pretty surreal.
The irony is, like, we've seen Hollywood like play out these scenarios, and some levels of these are now coming into real life. And it almost feels like we're conditioned in terms of the questions that we want to ask or where we think it might go, both in the good and the bad. But there's nothing to stop it from happening, which is almost the more scary bit.
Here's the paradox I'll give to you.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so Hollywood has created all these movies and all this, fiction about, AI robots taking over.
They're going to take over. They're going to take over.
Now, is that a case of, because AI, what it's meant to do is that it scours the internet for all the whole internet for information, comes up with an answer.
Yep.
Is it a thing that we've created this fantasy and it might come into reality because we created it?
Self-fulfilling.
Yeah. Like, we created this fantasy of, AI robots killing us in the future. What if the AI
put it out there, man.
What if the AI robots are like, actually, that doesn't seem like a bad idea.
This is the 70 VBs all over again with higher stakes.
Yeah.
Well,
what if but like, we created this fantasy, right? This fiction.
Yeah.
And then what's to stop an AI sort of going, that's not that bad of an idea. Humans are pretty stupid.
Yeah.
So we probably have created our own apocalyptic scenario.
Well, it's just how fast. Well, it's all about consciousness and sentient, right? Yeah. Sentience to like have like humanistic sort of feelings, right? Because you're right. ChatGPT, just having a bit of a blurb on it, like you can ask ChatGPT how ChatGPT works. Yeah. It's just a hyper advanced search engine, which is why it can get things wrong. It looks for relational content and words and starts putting it together, right? That's different from consciousness and feeling, right? That's actually really different. Which is not to say that it can't be broached, but let's just play on that scenario there. Even at a non sort of conscious level, if machine learning or the rate of technology is facilitating the AI, that's another thing. AAI, the AI, like it's just confusing, right? ChatGPT, like another sort of different sort of AI, but like if AI gets smart enough to ingest it, there will be content and ideas out there about exactly what we're talking about, right? So it starts reading that and presenting it as a scenario. You don't even have to be conscious for it to start ingesting it, if that makes sense, right?
By the way, I love AI. AI is the best, and I think it's great.
If you could chop all our social feeds and like upload it up,
it's better than humans, I believe.
Oh my goodness! I really hope that the rest of the year we're just not going to be hammering on about this topic, but it looks like it's here to stay.
Make no bones, we've just started on AI.
Yeah,
we're in the dial-up stages of AI.
Dial up. You know what? I'm going to rename this podcast down the AI hole.
Well, I think there's going to be use cases this year that are going to blow your mind, I reckon.
Yeah. Look, I agree. I think the topics that we need to look out for are is the introduction of it into like the mass market, like what sort of scenarios we see there. Yeah. I think the thing that I'm also interested in is, does the whole world have the computer processing power to actually implement it, right? It took a long while for like mobile phones as a technology to go across. And what does that mean for the power structures between countries?
Yeah, I mean, like, because ChatGPT introduced that $20 a month because it takes a lot to run this stuff, right?
Yeah. I think that was very smart that they did it as early as they did it. By the way.
So for a Google, for a Microsoft, which has Azure servers and Google servers around the world, it would just be going into their server centers and just making sure that they've got enough. Obviously, their investment they're investing, like Microsoft investing, was it 30 billion or something like that into it. So they're investing a lot into it. I'm pretty sure a lot of that is going to be to get the infrastructure in those servers around the world up to scratch.
Yep.
Because, I mean, I'm not quite sure when any of them are launching it. I mean, we've got the preview, the tech preview, right? But when the launch date for this is not quite sure. A lot of people think in the next couple of months.
Yeah. The other thing is right now it works on like internet, right? Like,
on the internet.
Is the infrastructure for the internet a country like India and a country like Fiji up to scratch because ChatGPT.
I've been hearing heaps about like, the lack of server farms and how, it's going to become a massive problem for bandwidth in the future.
Yeah.
We don't have enough space to put these things. And what's going to happen now if we're going to introduce this type of technology that requires probably bigger servers? It's going to take up more space. So, where do they go now? Do they go underground? Do they make towers?
Yeah.
Server towers, ugly server towers, which would be not that great. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we just have to see where all this goes. I don't know. It's going to into a dystopian future, probably.
The more and more I talk about these things,
where I'm still alive because I said the AI is awesome.
We love the AI. With chat Chang BT.
Chang BT.
All right, I'm done. I'm done with AI. I'm done with this content angle. Okay, let's talk about the war in Ukraine. We're almost. Can you believe we're a year? A year since it started. And tell me, like, in this century where everyone's privy to technology and that, has there been, like, I mean, we're aware of the war, right? But people are going about their day, right?
Yeah.
Like, I have this conversation, and I don't know if it's an ignorant thing to say, but I feel like I'd be so intrigued if we had the level of technology and media coverage back in the days and back in the world wars that we're talking about, because it feels like it's happening. We're aware of it, but it's so far, you know what I mean? Maybe that's an Australian view. I mean, like, what is your view on that?
I mean, it's happening, and I guess it just goes in and out of the media cycle.
Yeah,
really,
which is terrible, right?
Terrible, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many lives lost, and I mean, I don't think we're seeing even a fraction of what's going on there.
Correct.
I think it's much, much worse. And I don't know. It's just like the coverage bit is weird because it just goes in and out of the news cycle. And a lot of it seems to just stem from...
Well, we're in Western media, right? So
Western media. But a lot of it seems to just stem from the fear that Putin's going to launch a nuclear missile, right? Because I guess Western society is seeing it in like, what's the next phase, right?
Or how does it affect us?
Yeah. They don't really care what's going on the ground as much.
That's the touchy bit.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, I think...
I swear to God they don't.
I think, it's BAU... you know what I mean? Like, it's just such a...
At least, when, I guess the Iraq war, right? There was protests around the world. I remember that. There was a lot of protests around the world about whether there should be a war.
Yeah.
But this one, I haven't seen much of anyone talk about it, really. And that's kind of...
I don't know if that's what I'm trying to, like, zoom out and think about it. Is that because of our within our social circles, within our sort of country in Australia? But I do feel for... as many, like, there's a country that's being attacked, right? Like, just that's insane.
Yeah.
People are dying every day, and for a whole year it's happened, right? Can you imagine? So, did you watch Bear Grylls recently released a documentary where he met President Zelensky?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it got released last week, but we'll talk about that as well. So, Joe Biden, he rings up Air Force One and says, "Guys, we need to go. I need to get my shot with Zelensky."
Oh.
And
is this the one where I think I saw a video of him tripping on the way up to the...
He's tripped on so many things.
He recovered pretty well, I gotta say.
It's a good recovery. It's just as good as my wedding trip as well into my first dance. But so Joe Biden goes into Ukraine, takes a photo with Zelensky. Between Bear Grylls and Joe Biden, like, let's just think about what we're saying.
Yeah.
A country that's in the midst of war. So in Kiev, right?
Yeah.
They have like war sirens and stuff going on. Like, just picture that visual. And then in the middle of that, which is happening, and it's winter there. So the war is slowed down on both sort of sides because of winter. Joe Biden's there flashing his pearly whites, taking photos. Can you imagine if that happened in World War I? Like, I can't even fathom that.
In this context, it's a massive no-no. I reckon.
What do you mean?
Meaning Putin sees this as an act of aggression. If he sees, the US president across the border, it's an act. It's the same way as, China doesn't like anyone saying that Taiwan exists, right?
Yeah.
It's that same sort of, they feel that these countries feel disrespected.
Well, let's talk about the war game element of this, right? So
it's a big message.
This is basically, look, Russia knows that the US is an ally, right? They know, right? Yeah. But it's one thing to know, and it's the other thing that in the middle of a war, the CEO, the president of the most powerful country in the world flies in. Like, how brazen is that? That's like the shells going on like constantly there. People are dying. Goes in and then like promoted on TV. It's not even covert or overt. It's like, I'm here and we are fully supporting of you. Like, no mincing words. Yeah. And they've benefited more supplies, right? Like, they've committed to that.
There's a problem with that as well, because, and this is where I think a lot of the US is kind of against giving money to.
Well, I don't know if it's a lot, but there's definitely back and forth on it.
There's back and forth. Yeah. It's like they're not 100% agreed on whether they should even be giving weapons through this proxy war.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of money as well. Billions and billions of dollars. I forgot the number, but it's a big number.
It's a lot
that they're giving to Ukraine and for help and weapons and fighter jets and all sorts of stuff.
When's the American election again?
Ooh.
It's close, right? No, well, it's not. It's within earshot. It's not like.
No, it's about a year or two away.
Well, the reason I'm saying that is if like someone like Trump comes in, and the stance is completely different, and they've dumped all that money, and again, as far as Russia is concerned,
I guarantee you the stance will be different if Trump comes in, because he's openly said right now that he wouldn't even allow Putin to bring up the nuclear word. Right, Putin uses that word, pretty fragrantly at the moment.
Yeah,
doesn't care, doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Trump in an interview has said that I wouldn't even let Putin say that word. Next time he says it, there's going to be consequences.
Yeah.
So, it's a big situation.
It's pretty tense.
It's tense, and a lot of the world is very tense about it.
Yeah, because considering right now the optics of the front end is Ukraine and Russia. it's a domino, right?
Yeah,
it's a domino, and I can only imagine that's why. Well, there are the humanitarian reasons as well, obviously. Yeah. That it's not only the US, there are a lot of other countries that are sending resources, artillery, everything.
Well, the UK got in trouble as well from the Russia, because they sent these certain air jets to them, fighter jets, and Russia took that as a massive act of aggression.
Yeah,
saying all these tanks and stuff apparently were okay.
Yeah,
but now that they're sending fighter jets, that's a saying like, mate,
of
war.
course
You're at war with us. Don't act like you're not. Like you are.
Yeah,
and a lot of these countries want to go to war with Russia, but not really go to war with Russia.
Well, there's
a proxy war.
Yeah, exactly. This is I wouldn't say easiest way, but this is the least intrusive way because you're not directly there, but you're sending resources covertly or even overtly.
Because look, at the end of the day, right, all these big Western countries, they have these big military contracts,
Yeah.
Lockheed Martin, all this sort of stuff. Yeah. And that is for just like any company, right? If you don't use that budget, it goes down.
Yeah.
So they need to use that budget for something. And they do that by fighting these proxy wars around the world. That's why America gets into so much trouble.
Yeah.
Because they keep fighting, these proxy wars that keep their foreign sort of, stance on things, different wars across the Middle East even is just, for their military
Look, the economics of war in itself is fascinating, right? Like there are in things happening in the background that we're definitely not aware of that are contributing to that, the war machine there. What are your thoughts on when you read we read our media? It's so Western lens focused, right? So it's so hard to sometimes get like a barometer there. The war between the Ukraine and Russia has been going on for a while now, and a lot of reports are that Putin effectively misestimated how much tougher Ukraine would be, because they've got an advantage in terms of weaponry, infrastructure, and population, and all that. And I'm thinking, dude, we're talking about war here, right? Like, surely it can't be that stuff like this is on a whim, emotional, not calculated, and that. But is there some element of truth to the fact that, like, he just thought it would be much easier? Like, did we really think that in a year this would be smooth sailing?
The Western media sort of painted this picture that Putin is a crazy man. He's lost his mind and all sorts of stuff. But I actually think that Putin thinks that he thought this would be done within a month. Because he was
surely not
at the start. He was labeling this as a military operation to his population, his Russian population, right? He was telling his citizens that it's a military operation. And it's not a war. And obviously on the other side, we know it's a war. We know what's going on. All the troop build up and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I think he thought it would be over within a month, and I don't think he expected this much military backing from other countries, right?
Really though?
I actually,
really?
Yeah.
You think that
I think he thought
NATO would just let them.
I reckon he thought then the world was scared.
I mean, how arrogant can that? Like, surely, really?
Yeah, because I mean, think about it, right? You've got what's seen as a weak president in Biden.
Yeah.
Just not that I say he's weak or whatever, but just and the world thinks he's weak. He's old. He's a bit, forgetting things. And the way they went out of, I don't think this is important. The way they went out of Afghanistan, the US, really painted a bad picture on them from the world. And I think he just saw it as an opportunity. Okay, this is probably the only time I can invade another country.
So you think the US was the only, but you can't, like, NATO extends past the US. So
the US is a big member.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Like, but so you think that the consideration was mainly towards the US?
Yeah, I think
because of all those countries, you're right. US has the most.
Because I think he thought, because under the previous president, like under Trump, right, there was that rhetoric that if you even say the word nuclear, we're going to rain down on you, mate. Like, there's going to be some serious consequences, more than sanctions. Biden only talked about sanctions. He didn't talk about anything else. He was just said, sanctions. We're just going to help them. And then what's happened is the help that's coming from the US and NATO to Ukraine has increased more than just sort of aid and, I guess, technological help, which is what was about, right? We'll just help you technologically. And now there's tanks, now there's fighter jets, now there's all this military, backing. I don't think he predicted that. And that's why he's angry, right?
Yeah.
And that's why he's like, well, you guys can't do that. You guys can't say you're not at war with me and you still are with all your equipment's being used.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Where does China fit into this? Because you heard about the apparent peace. I don't even know what the word is, but the Chinese president is trying to effectively get Russia to stop, or they've come
bad on them. It looks bad on them
because there are alliances there, right?
There are alliances there, and I think also, well, here's a weird thing, right? Because they want to take over Taiwan, right? They've probably looked at this and gone, maybe we shouldn't do that right now.
Yeah,
because like the way that the world reacted to, like, in terms of helping Ukraine with its military, I'm not sure China would want to really.
I mean, we are so connected, right? You got to know economic progression is like everything is connected now, right? So the wars that were held World War I, World War II, they were different. There were different paradigms of war. The information and espionage wars were different now. And I think, this, how does this war end? Like, I was reading, and there are three options. One is total victory. I don't even know what that means. A negotiated peace. So there's like a negotiation, and a kind of stalemate. So of those three options, it's been communicated that it's probably going to be a stalemate. Yeah. Because what's a total victory? A total victory is
Ukraine,
Russia. Yeah, that's a total. So if that happens,
no. If that happens, right, that's gonna.
God forbid, like
that is going to trigger a lot of.
It's going to be it's going to be a different world if that happens,
because,
right?
This all stems from the fact that during the Soviet Union, Russia and NATO agreed to not go near each other,
yeah.
right? NATO broke that promise and has gone closer to Russia.
Yeah, of course.
Which has caused a lot of this sort of
Friction.
anxiety from them and the friction. But, mate, if Russia takes over Ukraine and they're right at the border of a NATO country,
so tell me
gonna be
this:
bad.
if it's a stalemate, which almost seems like almost, let's just play that scenario, a likely outcome. In my mind, things will never be the same again, even if it's a stalemate. So you tell me, all right, Russia says, I'm done. Like, let's just call it. You call it too, yeah? And they'll do it. It still won't be the same again. They'll be constant. Like, you got to, especially
do you reckon this will go for 20 years, like Iraq and
I don't know, man.
Afghanistan and all that?
This chat's just above my pay grade.
Yeah.
But like, the more and more I think about it, it's messy, man. Because there's so many. It's like that board where you see like threads there, right?
Yeah.
So there are two main parties to the dance, but there's so many threads. Like, and it's like it's high stakes threads. That's the thing, right?
That's the thing. I think it's the closest to war we've been since the World War II, right?
Yeah.
Some people might argue the Cuban Missile Crisis was as close. Probably was, but there's a lot more moving parts to this.
Oh yeah.
If if a nuclear bomb goes off in Kyiv,
and then the proxy about the American presidency, like that changes, and we're still in whatever this is, and then the new guy's like, let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Like,
Trump would be like that as well.
There's so many variables here, which just makes this.
If that kicks off there between US and Russia, it's going to kick off between China and US, and then China and India, and China and Australia, and and China and South Korea, Japan. Like, all this is going to trigger a lot. So the world is watching pretty tensely on this. And it's been watching for a year, but I mean, hope for any sort of peace seems to be going by the day, man, to be honest.
All right. It's tough. It's full on. The more I dive into this rabbit hole, I want to get out, man. Like, it's pretty. And the thing is, it's just like we're just going about our day, like nothing.
Yeah, man. I guess
like,
it's
again, I mean, I don't know if that's just an indication of us, like, but like I know a lot of people like us.
It's human nature. I guess we're just trying to deny it until
it's at an inflection point.
Until it goes away.
Kind of what happened in COVID, right?
Yeah,
we heard of COVID-19. I was like, whatever. Until it's a pandemic. The hell.
Yeah.
All right. I need something. Okay, the NBA, the All-Star Weekend was whack, man.
Wild whack.
It was just freaking whack. All right, I'm not the only one. So look, a big NBA fan, big Detroit Pistons fan. Pistons, 2050, eventual champions. Anyway, okay. So where do we start? So you're aware, you've seen like photo videos and stuff.
Yeah, NBA All-Star Weekend.
So the NBA All-Star Weekend is the premier weekend for NBA players, right?
Yeah.
So throughout a 72-game season, the best of the best get voted as All-Stars. So 50% of these All-Stars are voted by the fans, and this is the entire world voting it, right? So if, just say you're an absolute scrub, which never happens because it's the best players that do it, but the fans love you for some reason, you get voted in the starting lineup, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it never really happens because like LeBron James, Giannis, like all the best players happen to be there. Like no one's going to vote a scrub. I just use that as an extreme example. The other 50% of the team gets chosen by the coaches. So again, this is the best of the best.
Yeah.
So why is this important? One, it's a privilege.
Yeah.
You want to be called an all-star.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, in contract negotiations, the mark of being an all-star actually means that you're a certain caliber of player. Which means when you get paid for your next contract, I'm an all-star.
Yeah.
It's
kind of like
you get
NRL
voted.
if you're an origin player, right? And
Kind of.
Yeah.
Also, to take that even further, within certain individuals' contracts, they have performance extension of contracts, and if you are an all-star, you can actually hit a certain level. So you get a minimum. Okay. So basically, everyone wants to be an all-star, right? For whatever sort of reason. Number one. Number two, the event is held over a couple of days, I believe 3 days. It consists at the end of the culmination, which is an all-star game. Back in the day, used to be East versus West.
Yeah.
Right now, they've done like a weird thing where they have captains. So Team Giannis Antetokounmpo and Team LeBron, the two of the players that had the highest votes, right? And these individuals get to choose their team like a draft sort of thing, right? So this is a relatively new concept, maybe a couple of years ago, but the main thing that happened new this year was that they were able on the day, like an hour before the actual game to choose their players, so they didn't know, right?
Yeah.
Kind of cool. It actually is cool if you think about it, right? So it's like, when you played basketball or soccer in the thing, I get to pick you. It's that, right? Exactly. So it's just that in the elevator page. Cool. Tick, whatever. That neither here, neither there. The issue with the All-Star game, well, let's talk about the All-Star weekend, right? So there are other events that pursue that. And the main events are the skills challenge.
Like the dunking contest.
The dunking contest, which you know of, and the 3-point challenge.
Yeah.
So of the three events, the most fun for me is the 3-point. I don't know. Yeah. It's just like mesmerizing watching these guys just shoot, right? Like even if you don't watch basketball, it's just like you like watch aesthetically. It's nice to watch. So that's fine. I think it's a bit stale, but like I'll continue to watch it because it's just a fascinating thing to watch. So let's talk about the dunk contest. All right, won by your boy Matt McClung, and they say white boys can't jump. All right, this guy is 6'2". Yeah, so small on the smaller end.
Yeah,
literally like white boy can't dunk. And the irony about this is he is not even an NBA player.
Oh, what?
I'll tell you what. He's a G League player. So G League is one level underneath the NBA. Right? But the reason he was invited was twofold. One is coming up. So we live in the social media generation. He had viral dunks. Oh, so that's the way. Like if you type this guy Matt McClung, there's not highlights about him in an NBA game, even though he has played for the Lakers, for example.
Oh,
there's highlights on his dunks when he was in high school. Yeah. So that's how they got him. Good dunker. Not the same level of thing, right? So he won it, and it was like a sensation. They said that he brought back the dunk contest, right? Yeah. Number one. But but just zooming past that, the reason that the dunk contest, which is a larger symptom of the whole NBA weekend, is whack, is that none of the big names want to take part of it.
Oh, so what's the point of it then?
Well, back in the day, the big names did want to take part of it. Michael Jordan is a dunk contest winner, right? Vince Carter is a dunk contest winner, right? Like the names, Dominic LeBron never has taken part of it. And this is a symptom of this generation. And what does this generation mean? One, there's a couple of things. The dunk contest has been going for a lot of years now. How many freaking different ways can you dunk the ball? Like, no, seriously. Like, there's almost like...
There are a different couple of ways. Like, well, the back. And
but like, what I mean is it's the same extensions of it. It's not very, like, mind-boggling dunks. That's number one. Number two, which is actually, I think, the main reason in this generation. Like, why LeBron, for all his... Why hasn't LeBron done the dunk comp? Seriously. He did a dunk comp when he was younger. Like, when he was not in the league. So why hasn't he done it 20 years in the league? I'll tell you why. We're in a social media generation where the cost of looking like an idiot and failing is too much for you to try. That's the issue. If I go in and I fail, because you can fail, right? Yeah. You can try a dunk that is outside your parameter and blow up. And this is what happened in that the competition.
Wait, I think I remember something from TikTok. Is this the guy? I think there's a TikTok where he looks at Shaq. And then like
that's the one.
And then he
make him remember your name. Yeah.
And then
so that's the guy.
He has a little bit of colored hair.
Yeah. He looks like he looks like a kid.
Yeah,
like, legitimately looks like a kid.
That's cool.
Right?
That's cool.
It is cool, but to note, that is the reason. It's just a symptom of the wider NBA where the top players never want to do it because if they don't pull out, or if they get, God forbid, they get beaten by some of these lowly ranked players, it looks bad. Yeah. So no one wants to try. So the audience is robbed of that opportunity, which you can say, big whoop. But again, Kobe did the dunk comp. Michael Jordan did the dunk. So in that generation, they didn't care about that. I just want to compete. In this generation, hey, if I look bad in the dunk comp and this rookie somehow beats me, because the only individuals that are NBA players that are doing it are like rookies.
Maybe they should make it mandatory. Like if you're part of All-Star, weekend, you gotta.
But you can't make it mandatory. You can't.
Why?
Because it's the other thing about the whole.
Otherwise, you're not part of All-Star weekend.
The NBA All-Star weekend, then they just won't. and the power is in the players.
No, but then you won't get more money then.
They don't. They make. Firstly, they get paid peanuts. So the winner of the dunk contest apparently got 100K.
Oh,
that's nothing. These are $30 million.
LeBron spends that at a restaurant.
That's what I mean. So you can't do that angle. And because people are petrified there are. So that's number one. Dunk contest, how do you solve it? I really don't know. I actually have ways to solve the whole competition, so I'll tell you later. But secondly, the All-Star game, right? So this year, in fact, my favorite games are the young players, because you get to see the first year and the second year players, and you get to see a glimpse of what the league will look like in the future. And the reason is Detroit's so shit that they often have young players in there, so you get to see some of your players play, and the general media talked about them. But anyway, this year, basically, it's always a glorified pickup game, because the thing you got to understand is they're getting paid for it, but it's not a lot. Yeah, that's not. It's a privilege. And secondly, the All-Star Weekend is the midpoint of the season. So those who are not part of the All-Star, they're in Mexico. They're chilling. They're relaxing a little bit, which is good because it's a 72-game season. It's a lot, right? No one was playing defense, and it was a glorified pickup game where people were dribbling the ball straight there, down the line, and not even trying to contest it. And that's why you had basically a scoreline of 160. It's insane. Don't get me wrong, these are the best of the best. So even in a proper game where people are playing defense there, and people are saying, seriously, why am I watching this? I was watching it, and I turned it off after halftime. And in Twitter, there was so many comments of, why is this happening? Like, no one wants to watch guys just dunk. It's just like me running and dunking the ball straight, and you're just standing there and looking. It's like a mockery of competition, right? Like, there's no competition, basically.
Then I guess that's the problem, right? Because like over here we see State of Origin as the next level up from the NRL, right? You're representing your state, and they're given that prominence. I mean, if Michael and Kobe were part of this before, and they're not, so like, the big players don't really want to take part, and obviously the dunk contest.
Well, that's a dunk contest,
but like the actual game itself is,
it has no
quality is not there, and it has no meaning. That's something they need to fix.
But it's been happening for a while.
How would you fix
this is how I would fix it. So just tag this inside. So how Kevin Chang would fix the. Let's talk about the dunk contest and everything, right? So the dunk contest, they're professional dunkers out there. They're actually professional dunkers out there. So if you scour the whole NBA, there are usually 4 contestants or 5 contestants, whatever, right? Make it 50-50, whoever from the NBA wants to do it. And I can tell you, it'll be like rookies and people that are not that well known but are hyper athletic, because it's in their advantage to increase their profile. They're NBA players. Give them that right. But allow professional dunkers to do it. So the angle is professional versus NBA player. And that will increase it, because what is going to happen is people who professionally dunk actually have great dunks. So if you're willing to get that, over time you will see the competition elevate, because NBA players will see how it's done. And even then you might see proper competition there. Right now, the NBA players, dunking is an element, but it's not an element you think about, because 2 points is 2 points when you dunk it or lay it up or whatever, right? So it's not an art. So it's like asking... So if I go to like a Taekwondo match or something like that, I'm not going to want to watch a white belt. I want to watch a black belt. Right now, do these NBA players, you're asking them to watch, not white belts, but like blue belts and brown belts instead of black belts. So get the pros there, mix it up with whoever dares to go in on the NBA, and you will see a higher level of competition.
So you're saying not have it sort of like an underlying thing where people are like, oh, my reputation's going to be... But have it overtly say that this is how versus NBA.
Exactly. And why? Because they're actually professional dunkers out there that no one has had. So one is they get competition, they get prominence, which is the extension of the whole. If you want to zoom out, you know what this whole thing is systemic of, and I'm gonna get smashed for this. It's American culture. It's called, and I'll tell you, it's the show versus the sanctity of the sport. And I'll tell you why I say that. Because you're right. In Australia, we have State of Origin. It is seen in the same light of All-Star. It's the All-Star equivalent there. So people die to play in this game. And this game has such folklore that people have played it with broken shoulders. They've played it with that. And that is their extension of elevation here. It is not seen there. It's because in Australia, I'm just giving an example because we're in Australia. It is seen there, but in America, it's not. I see it as a bargaining chip for my thing. I see it as an ability for me to showboat and all that. And the whole thing of All-Star Weekend is Post Malone was there. They have celebrities there. I get it. It's the celebrity culture. It's the Hollywood culture. That is a part of the NBA that people love. I love it. I love it just as much. Not more, not less, but just as much. Sometimes I love it more than the actual NBA. The culture of it. And it's a system of that. So my solve is to not face into more of that system, which is the NBA players. Like, they're tired too. Get other people who are playing this sport at a different level.
Yeah.
There, right? So how do you fix the All-Star game? I'll tell you how to fix the All-Star game. In every sports league, there are two aspects of sports: offense, defense. Right now, the All-Stars are really offense, right? You will have.
But is that because, say, LeBron gets to pick whatever he wants, right? He's just picking
so,
all
so
offense
I'll
players.
tell you, it's that. But think about it. The players will pick people that have good stats.
Yeah.
The stat that everyone looks at is points.
Yeah.
It starts with points. It's just I want to see someone dunk, layup, Kyrie. You never see, but oh man, I love how that guy locks that player down. I love the fact that this guy blocks players.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you the solve. The solve is the concentration of the players are towards offense. In an actual NBA team, if you had you just start a salary cap from scratch, you would not pick all offensive players.
you would
That's
have to
not
pick
how
defense.
there's a saying that goes, defense wins championships.
Yeah.
Right? Championships, not games, championships. Because you can scale, if you have defensive tendencies, they can work in your first game, they can work in your last game.
Well, I got an idea. Instead of saying LeBron, you can pick whatever 5 players you want, or whatever squad of 10 players, whatever you want. Why don't you say okay, you can pick 10, but 4 of them have to be offensive players. 4 of them have to be defensive players.
Yeah.
2 of them can be.
Well, that's my suggestion's even better. Not even better. Sorry, take it out of the players, right? Because the players,
coach.
Yes. Yeah. So where the coaches decide to pick the players, make them only pick defensive-minded players. And when you have those people playing together, naturally a defensive player is not going to want to shoot the ball. They want to lock it down. And
Well, actually, I'll take it even away from the coaches. Actually,
yeah,
you know how over here, I mean, not fully away from the coaches involved.
yeah,
But there's selection committees, right?
Yeah.
For Queensland and New South Wales, right? Have it be that
yeah,
selection committee of legends of the game of NBA, and this brings the prestige of it, into it. So the legends picked this squad, the legends picked that squad as well.
Yeah.
And not active playing legends like LeBron, but actual have committees, have it be a thing, have the East Coast and West Coast be actual franchises themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
And proper franchises with offices, buildings, everything, your committees, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then I think that would probably bring the prestige of things a bit up. Because right now, you're right, it is very commercialized.
It is. It's
heavily
everyone wants the
commercialized.
sponsors to be there, and it's skewing towards one way. Yeah. And look, the irony is, I'll still
because one of my other solutions was if sponsors are involved in that dunk contest, which they probably are, right?
100%.
Yeah. Get even more sponsors involved. Or get the biggest sponsor to say, we'll pay this much, and that money then goes to LeBron to entice him to play or something like that.
I think money's a hard one, but yeah. They need to change it, guys. They need to change it. All right. Rant over. Facebook.
Everyone's favorite social
media. Everyone's favorite platform. And Instagram too. So earlier this week, Meta, I still call it Facebook, announced a new paid verification subscription service called Meta Verified. Effectively, it's what Musk is doing to Twitter. Yeah. If you want a badge which says that you're a legit person, $11 a month. Goddamn. Is that Australian or US?
No, it's Australia. That's a US. Australian, it's nearly 20.
Damn, $20
for a tick.
All right, mate. Zuckerberg said that this new feature is about increasing authenticity and security. So what, you're saying that our base level is not secure at all?
Not at all.
Jeez, man. So what's happening?
This has a bit more into it. Obviously, you get the tick, but then they're saying you get really
no. There is more security,
24/7 customer service as well.
For
which
what?
No, so I don't know if you noticed, but you might have run Facebook pages. But I've run Facebook pages for organizations and stuff. There isn't really a customer service of Facebook. When you go to help, it's just articles and articles. You have to really, really dig
These
down.
are for business pages, right?
Yeah. You have to dig down, or you have to know someone at Facebook
Yeah.
to get that service.
Yep.
And that's what I recently found while working in local government, is that I had to go and find this person and basically network with New South Wales government contacts to find out who the Facebook person was at Meta.
Yeah,
that would help us. It's just, I think them saying that there's a paid model that's going to go. I'm pretty sure to pay a lot of these customer service employees that they're hiring now. because that would require a lot of customer service employees to run that. But I mean, does anyone really want this? I don't.
Well, look. Would you and I pay for it? Hell no. Like,
No.
get out of here, man. Like, I think I'm like. Honestly, the only reason I'm on Facebook is for Facebook Marketplace. It sounds offer some deals.
Cheap stuff there.
I actually think, you know what? So, like, there are a couple of reasons this has happened, right? Yeah. One is, listen, mate, Zuckerberg isn't altruistic. Like, that service you're talking about, like, for someone to answer a question, it should be built in the base level, man. Especially for business customers. It should be. Why the hell? Like, that makes no sense. So that's number one. Number two, it's a revenue play. They're seeing the headwinds. Like, it's definitely a revenue play. And again, it's just interesting that it happened after Musk did it. But like, it's a revenue play. That's number one. Number two is that like, I'm actually stuck at number one. I had something. God damn.
Okay, let's take the case study, I guess, of Twitter, right?
Yeah.
I think Twitter has gone a bit worse now with that paid verified feature. Man, like there's all these people on there that are verified. It's kind of taken away the gravitas of being verified.
What do you reckon? But one of the reasons
it just feels like, oh, that guy paid $10 a month.
What's the gravitas? But like, hold up. So this is actually aimed at content creators, right?
Yeah.
Because Joe Blow and I
wouldn't care,
right? Wouldn't care about it. Like, hell no. So you want to say that I am Marquez Brown, whatever, right? I'm verified because there's spam accounts. And for Twitter, this is a thing, right? Because, Instagram, right? Like, people create like spoof accounts and God knows what. So I can see it. And if it adds there, like a little bit of legitimacy, it's fine. But I don't think it takes away from the gravitas. But again, like...
Well, there is a gravitas about being verified, right?
Of course, yes, that's what I mean. Like, it doesn't take away.
This person has done something special in society, whether it be an actor or something like that. And it just feels like the fact that you can pay for that, it takes away that special sort of thing about the tick now. It's if everyone can get it, then why would you want to get it?
Yeah.
What's the point of it? Like, it's just, I don't know. I think they need to rethink a lot of... I mean... Yeah, they needed to make some sort of revenue of this, right?
Yeah, of course.
Because they're making revenues in other ways, like ads and all that sort of stuff.
That's the major... I think Facebook missed a play on the marketplace. Imagine if they took 1% of sales.
Don't they?
They do. It's free. It's great.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah, I guess you have to pay.
I'm talking 1%. I don't know how many transactions there, but I'm addicted to marketplace. I'm addicted to like deals. And if they took 1% of that, you wouldn't blink an eye because eBay takes more than that.
eBay takes more than that.
Yeah. Right?
But you think, right, like, because a lot of Facebook marketplaces, I'll pay you when I see you. Right, because everyone's like, I don't want to, pay someone and then show up and then nothing there, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, but what I reckon they could have done, right, is something akin to the Uber model, for Facebook Marketplace, where you can pay for it, but it only goes through once you receive it, and then you can say, yes, I received it.
I've done that with PayPal,
and I mean, like. Yeah, they've missed the boat on a lot of things. Facebook, and it's sort of indicative of why that platform is dying, right? I've seen the data; like there's less and less people signing up to Facebook, and it's actually going in decline. Yeah, a lot of young people.
The signing up is interesting because I think that you do reach a saturation point at some of these massive networks.
Yeah,
but if people are dropping out, it's because for sure I can see.
Well, that's the thing, right? We'll just talk about the demo of young people, right? People drop down in mass, for Facebook.
Yeah.
To go to Instagram, which is also another Facebook-owned thing. And then, I don't know if they're dropping out in mass, but there's a decline in Instagram now because of stuff like TikTok.
It's the app wars, right? It's interesting because all it just shows, I mean, the demographics are different. TikTok's demographic is different, but it's just a whole... Yeah, look, when Facebook came out, wow, like it's an extension of MySpace, Bebo, bro. Extension of all those, and it was the best version of it, right? Yeah. So for that point in time, it was wow. Yeah. Wow, people need to know what I'm thinking about this taco at 11:55. All that stuff was great. Do you know anyone that updates their status anymore?
No one.
I do, but like it's just less and less, right?
I'll bring another question to you.
Yeah.
Do you know anyone on Facebook anymore? Does anyone post anything that you're liking? Does anyone put up their photos anymore? Does anyone check in anywhere anymore?
We do when we go overseas, right? maybe, yeah.
Honestly, all I see on my feed, right, is a bunch of news articles.
Yeah, it
and
is.
a bunch of ads.
That's what it's used for now. But
You
yes,
don't really
you're right.
see anything from your friends that much.
Yeah, people
Right?
people engage with it differently, very differently now. And how
What it used to be, right? It used to be a place where you upload your photos and then that's what
people still do it, but
that's what
Instagram is exactly.
That's why Instagram is become popular.
Yeah.
Is that is the place, but even that is now becoming kind of like Facebook in that you're seeing less of your friends feed and more of like other things that are you interested in this? Are you interested in this?
Yeah.
And I guess that's the monetization part of it, right? But I think Facebook has gone way too far in one. Instagram still has that you can see your friends feed. I don't see anything from my friends feeds from Facebook, and I think it's sort of lost that connection that it once had, right?
You remember the times when you'd go to Facebook and spend like an hour or half an hour just scrolling and interacting? I never I do that, but like
it's much shorter.
It's shorter, but it's due to articles and stuff. It's not to do with the reason you were there, which was like the connection point, right?
Right, because like I would akin Facebook to a news service now, right? Where you just any of the latest news that are coming out, you go there. Twitter is that as well, but there's a lot more opinion on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing much of that. I mean, if you do see it, you see it in the comments of Facebook, right? And if you look at the demo of Facebook now, it's middle-aged women is the main sort of audience there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your Karens.
Well, no, but it is. Basically, it's like...
if you look at the comments sections, man, a lot of them do seem like Karens as well. There's a lot of complaining and whinging. So bad about Karen, man. I've run a lot of Facebook pages in the last couple of years.
Can't name your child Karen anymore.
There's a lot of whinging and complaining on Facebook, more than usual. And that tends to go to the demo. You look at the demo, it's like 35 to 50-year-old females as the main demo, right, of your platform. And then Zuckerberg sees this. He sees this. That's why he's like, I need the next big thing.
Of course,
I need metaverse to take off. I need VR to take off. I need, even today he announced something about AI as well. I just saw on Facebook.
Eyes roll.
So he's trying to get into the AI because he knows Facebook is dying. Like it's not what it used to be.
Of course,
He might have over monetized it, and it didn't evolve the way that people thought it would.
Yeah, I think you gotta monetize, man. Like, but you're right.
That's like every platform has to monetize, but you've got to keep that balance, right? And that's what I think Instagram still does well. There's that balance of I see ads and maybe stuff.
But Instagram is operating off like Facebook. That's the thing, like the money of Facebook. It's hard. It's not easy, but it'll be interesting to see the difference. Yeah. Okay, so look, in Australia, the NRL season is next week. Is it next week? Yeah, it's the first week of March.
Yeah.
Are you aware of this NRL dispute between the NRL and the Players Association? No. Okay, so check this out. So they've been I've heard of it, but it seems to be the most covert, even though it isn't. Dispute.
Is this related to Selwyn Cobber? Did he?
Not everything ties
like decreasing their pays because of him.
Where does Selwyn Cobber fit in all of this nonsense?
I heard he scored 3 tries that day. That's good.
My boy Cobber, man. Gonna get a Cobber jersey. Anyway, so the NRL, the body, and the Players Association, basically, they have an issue. So this is basically, I mean, in major leagues they have been. For example, in the NBA, there's a Players Association as well, right? And so they actually have players that represent... It's a union, effectively, if you want to think about it.
Yeah, there's one in cricket as well. There's one in
exactly. So their job is to represent the best interests of the players, right? Yeah. So the NRL, as much as we may not believe it, is making money, right? Like they are doing well every year. They're good superstars. The product is good. It's.
I've noticed crowds up.
Yeah,
I've noticed more crowds.
I have to see them. Well, dude, like they can't not do that if they have a new team like Dolphins. Like you can only grow a new team if it's growing, right?
And there's a documentary on the Dolphins.
Exactly. Well, like the fact that people are watching documentaries shows me that there's demand. Right?
Yeah.
So this is coming off the back of that. But effectively, what happened is before Christmas, the NRL announced an increase in salary caps for competitions, which saw the men's cap rise by around 25% and the women's by 153% because the baseline of those games is smaller. So you think, wow, that's good. Players would love that, right? Wrong. Nah, they don't love that.
They don't?
So what happened? So what they didn't like was the NRL did not consult the Players Association at all and made this decision unilaterally, right?
Yeah.
So if it's basically, I want to be heard. You can't be making. It's not that, hey, we don't like. I'm sure they'd hate it if they decrease the salary cap, right? Yeah. But the fact that they're arcing up when their salary cap is increased is more. Well, because when you hear this in different circles, and this is what I initially thought until I dug a little bit deeper, you hear a pay dispute.
Yeah.
Like, we want more money, right?
Yeah,
Like, because if you hear a league
25%
association,
is a lot.
it's a decent amount.
Yeah.
I heard like the NRL made 500 mil or something last year, or something like that. So look, it's big. It's not as big as other, but it's doing.
Yeah.
Ironically, it's not even as. It's not the highest sport in Australia, like AFL, which is anyway. That's neither here nor there. So off the back of that, basically the players want a seat at the table. They want a proper conversation with the NRL. You can't be making decisions. And it's about a combination of things, apparently. This is what's written out there. So better terms for the most vulnerable players. What do they mean? They mean people coming up in the system, like the grassroots. New past players programs. You hear a lot of things about, the past legends that have concussions and stuff that are out. And how were they like household names and now like out in the street and stuff like that?
Yeah, I remember seeing
stuff like that.
I forgot which player it was, but I remember seeing he was pushing.
It's out there.
Like a garbage truck or something.
Fair arrangement rights, improved injury hardship fund. So there's basically a possibility of a strike.
Ooh.
So what happens is every year before the NRL season, which is literally next week, I don't know when this podcast is going to come out, so it might come out there, they have like a media shoot, right?
Yeah.
And the captains come out there. So I didn't even realize this. This is the second year that this hasn't happened because the NRL players are not, they don't want to do anything with the actual NRL, and they are threatening. There is a possibility of an actual strike. Like there. So like right now, again, it's just like a lot of things. Yeah, you've heard of it. It's not a big deal, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, NRL. So what happens if they say, we don't want to play, or we play 1-2 rounds and people are into it because they want footy's back. Yeah. And then they stop because that's the best way to do it.
Major ramifications.
If you want to do it, right? So there's major ramifications of sponsors, teams. You have the Gold Coast Dolphins, which is a 1 year. They have ticket stuff like that.
Sponsors, teams, TV deals.
Yeah, exactly. So these TV deals are priced according to like the amount of games played. So I think it's an interesting development.
The flow-on effect would be like if they do start it up at some point.
Yeah.
The stadiums have to book all this sort of stuff. Like what's going to happen? Like. So hopefully they can figure it out before. It's like a couple of days left.
I mean, the other thing that it's been reported, again, it is about money, is the revenue share. Yeah. So I think this is interesting because I'm not too sure how a revenue share would work amongst the clubs. But yeah, like the spokesman for this are the players and the star players at that, right? So they're unified in that. But it's interesting because we don't know the conversations behind closed doors, but it seems to be a rhetoric that players are greedy.
Yeah.
And I think it's why you hate social media, right? Like when you hear stuff like that and I see like Facebook posts, you're like, these greedy guys, they're people working on minimum wage and they're asking for like, I think the minimum salary is like 120K or something like that. Yeah. And they want to share. But like, you got to think about it from the other perspective. If you're in a union and you want to have like that conversation and you see your employer growing, you see the revenue there, and all you're simply asking for is transparency and a conversation at the table.
Like, so, yeah, some sort of
surely that's
back and forth at least.
That's conversation there, and the fact that it's not that forthcoming, it just perpetuates that what is the NRL? So the business, like, what are they doing? Where they're hoarding all this money from? Like, should it be out there? So I think it's really interesting because, again, these are one of these stories where you've heard about it until you don't, right? And I think what's interesting is, again, the culture. In America, the NBA has gone through periods of lockdown where they literally stopped the season. I remember
pay disputes.
Yeah. And it was outright nothing but pay disputes, right? Yeah. Just pay disputes, contract disputes, etc., etc. And in America, especially in the NBA, which I'm a big fan of, there's a massive player empowerment movement where star players like LeBron and the world revolves around them. They have stuff like LeBron rules, Curry. They literally call collective bargaining agreements around these players because these players set precedents of things. If a player doesn't like it, I'm out. Trade me, motherfucker. I'm like, I want to be out. Like, that's literally what happened there. Where do you don't have that? And again, this is a culture thing. And the reason I say it's a culture thing is, as much as these players like want to progress that agenda, I don't see a lot of Australia. I can't almost, because they know that the average fan pays this much. They want to watch it. They're cut from the same cloth. Like it's just a little bit different culturally. Where to actually, in your like, has any sports league in Australia ever gone on strike during a season? I can't think of. Has there? Maybe a singular strike, but are we talking about a season?
No, not
in cricket. Has it ever happened for any Australian team or county team?
I mean, the cricket have like cricket players, Cricket Australia, and cricket players have had their pay disputes as well. I'm pretty sure pretty recently as well with Warner. Saying he wanted to be paid more for his contract. But
a strike is intense, right? In Australia, for Australia, like I think culturally, there's just so much. There'll be so much kickback at fan level, right?
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, the fan level, all they see is the games.
Correct. Yeah.
They don't see any of the back end stuff that happens, right? No. The games is all they see and all they want, really. But I guess it would bring it to light more, right? That the pay that they're getting, and I've said this for a while now. NRL players don't get paid enough, and they should actually be getting paid way more.
You reckon?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
No, I think there should be.
I think your pay is. The NRL is just not an international game. It's not an
international game, right? Yeah, but they should be getting paid more because we're talking about numbers like $1 billion for a TV deal, like $500 million rep. Like this.
I think that's the main thing, that players are seeing the size of these deals, and are seeing how much their club gets, and saying,
think of this, right? Sydney, inflation in Sydney is probably as worse as I've ever seen it. The cost of living here is insane. A lot of our wages aren't keeping up.
Yeah, of course.
And that's the hard facts. Is the rate of inflation is not keeping up with the increase in the wages, right? And I think on that level, you definitely need to increase it as well. I mean, there might be a culture disconnect with a lot of people saying just play. What the hell? But at the end of the day, these are elite sportsmen that sacrifice their whole work life, whatever, to become a sportsman.
It's true.
So they've I guess if they want more, they should be demanding more. And I think that's what
I think you can ask the question.
Yeah, definitely ask.
We're an open society to be able to ask the question.
25% is pretty big.
It is, but it's.
But I don't think it's that. I think you're right, and they want to sit at the table. They at least want it to be heard, right? Like all these other 25% overall is great, but there's all these other issues that we've seen come from the game.
Yeah, and another thing is the women's
what happens
league
after?
as well.
What happens after the concussion stuff? All that, like what happened there? Like they need to be a bigger sort of. The NRL needs to take more care of their players even after they retire. There's got to be programs put in place because
probably one of the most intense sports if you think about it.
Yeah,
like no padding, no nothing.
A lot of Americans think we're ridiculous without not wearing any padding or helmets and stuff like that.
Soft.
But it's just like that's what we are, man. That's how NRL's been played for a long time.
It's the only way NRL's been played.
Yeah. I mean, man, if like these days it isn't as brutal as it was, right? Back in the 90s, mate, they were
mad dog.
There was some pretty big hits, pretty big shoulder charges.
Yeah, but you know what? They need to bring back the biff, man.
What biff, man? They just hold each other's shirts these days and wait for the other to hit.
Hugs, lads, hugs. I mean, you guys know jiu-jitsu, man. Just do something. Anyway.
Yeah.
Look, the latest Ant-Man film. Give me. You loved it. You loved it. Hey, who doesn't love Paul Rudd, man? You love Paul Rudd.
Okay, man. Okay, look, I'll just give a short
review. This is a casual version. I thought it was okay.
This is a diehard Marvel.
I thought it was okay without being like... No, don't get me wrong. Like, it was average.
Okay. So, I probably talked about it before how, Phase 4 has been pretty terrible. Everything from She-Hulk to Doctor Strange being a disappointment to Thor being a massive disappointment.
This was supposed to come out a couple of years ago, was it?
No. It's part of the release thing. But like... Yeah, man. I think a lot of hopes were coming into this film that, this is the start of Phase 5, right? This is going to be a new start. It's going to be, they've finally introduced the big bad villain. It's going to be in Avengers. Kang. Yeah.
You really think that people came in with like massive expectations for Ant-Man? Because I had no expectations.
Not massive
for
expectations.
Ant-Man.
I
Like
think
Ant-Man's like there.
because right now with the quality that we've been getting, we're just like, mate,
Give us something, right?
Even average standard Marvel movie would be great. Compared to what's come.
In the earlier phases, what's like an average one in your mind that was okay without being like amazing?
I think actually, no, Guardians did better than
What, the first one?
Yeah, the first one more than what they.
one was right.
But like, I guess that run from from Guardians to Endgame, right? That was an unbeatable run where you had so many.
I don't
great
think you
movies.
can come back from that.
You
That's the
know,
problem.
back to back movies were so great. They were
Yeah.
good. I mean, if at worst, they were average, right? They were okay. And then now the quality has dipped so far below that even we're just pining for the average.
Yeah.
We're pining for just an average standard Marvel movie. And it just feels like, this one, I mean, there was a lot of problems with how. I mean, a lot of people said they liked Kang. Kang was cool. The acting, Jonathan Majors.
Okay, come on, man. Look,
really good.
Why they gotta make a brother villain, man? You give us one thing.
It's a good villain, man.
Dude, that guy's got this forehead. I
think a lot of people had a problem with looks like one big CGI fest, and
it was,
and a lot of CGI wasn't that great. I mean, MODOK looked unfinished. I mean,
and
that's
that was weird.
That was
like
weird.
visually,
it was odd, and it was just I mean, I didn't agree with how they portrayed some of the decisions. I'm going to spoil it. So some of the decisions about Kang and where he is and what happens to him in the story, I kind of didn't agree with. It kind of sort of neuters him a bit. But I mean, I don't know where that goes from now, the Marvel universe, because I mean, I've said for a long time, a lot of Phase 4 is indicative of a bigger problem at Disney, and that was Kevin Feige, the boss of Marvel, didn't have the power he used to have when he was making those first 3 phases of the MCU. Now that power seems to have come back to him. But how many movies and shows have been affected? Because he's already pulled back on the amount of shows he's doing this year.
Which I think is a good thing, to be honest.
Yeah, it gives him so he can focus more on them, right? That was the problem, that he's stretched too thin. Was this a remnant of the old sort of regime that sort of just released? In a state that it was, where obviously Kevin Feige didn't have as much say in it. Not sure, but I mean, he's got to do something special now to bring it back, right?
I guess what I'm saying is like, what would you have done for Ant-Man to make it memorable? Like, I think.
Well, here's the thing, right? Ant-Man's first 2 movies, they weren't these big epic. They were literally heist movies, and they involved. It was very grounded in reality, right?
Yeah.
The first one,
I like the San Fran.
He wants to see his kid, so he has to steal this thing, and he gets his mates involved.
Yeah.
And then this one is just like this big sprawling, universe bending sort of thing where he goes into the quantum realm, and it's really crazy, and there's this big bad villain there, and it's just. I just feel like it was too big. It lost the essence of what the Ant-Man character was. And it affected the film, because it just felt like one big CGI fest.
Well, it was literally one big CGI
and fest. But the problem I see, right, is they've gone with the fact that Kang was stuck in the quantum realm as a story, and they had to tell that story at some point, whether it was in Ant-Man or Doctor Strange or something.
I think they picked not the weakest, but
it was probably the wrong franchise to go. I mean, Ant-Man does involve going into the quantum realm, but I don't know whether it should have been at this level. There probably was a different way to make this.
Yeah, look, I think I think when Marvel was at its height, this is a casual view, by the way, so take it or leave it. He's going to get a lot of legs. I can see. It had an amazing villain.
Yeah.
Right. When Thanos was there, there's just legit gravitas there, right? So, mate, how many villains have toys that people want to buy? I still the god. It's just symbolic, right? Yeah. You have to have a good villain. So at least they've introduced what looks like their next villain, which is going to extend. So I think that's a start.
That's the start, right? I mean, that's got Kang. He seems very terrifying in a way.
Yeah.
But where they're failing is that while they've introduced the villain, I just don't know whether the audience is really reacting well to this whole multiverse. It's a multiverse saga.
It's too much. It's I think
what I'm getting from a lot of casual viewers that I know, right, is that there's too much going on.
Yeah.
Mate. Like,
So-
there's too much to understand what's going on. It's very simple before. With the first 3 phases. Oh, there's this, there's this big bad purple guy. He has this 6 stones that are crucial to the universe. When he gets all 6 of them, mate, all hell's going to break loose.
Yeah. I agree.
This is a bit more different in that there's this guy that's jumping between multiverses. Someone dies, maybe they're not dead. Maybe it's, they can go from another multiverse, come into this one. The whole idea, I said before it started, the idea of multiverse was going to be very difficult to, explain to Joe Schmo, right? And I think what you're seeing now is that with the decline of a lot of Marvel stuff lately is that, and also
because they've pulled this multiverse theme everywhere, right?
yeah, it's in a lot of their properties, but like that overarching multiverse sort of story is not connecting. I'm just telling you right now.
Yeah.
It's not connected to the wider audience. I guess a lot of the diehards are like, oh yeah, multiverse is sick. We saw, spoiler alert, we saw the different Spider-Mans. And that was cool. But like, I mean, I don't know whether it's connecting the whole thing on a bigger level.
Yeah. I think what's happened, and again, it's like Americanism for me, but like you strayed away from film 101, which is having that emotive connection with the audience, right? So again, you achieve that by why do we like superhero movies? We love we want to be the hero. We want to hate the villain. Right? Very base principles you build kind of around that. And the more there's also an exhaustion of effects and all that sort of stuff. And if that is your trigger point there, and this is why you can watch the first couple of movies in Fast and the Furious, and towards the end, you're like, when you see these trucks going you're like, what the fuck is happening? Come on, Vin, dude, that's bullshit. Even
Vin, fuck you.
You're like 7 seasons in, you're like, all right, I'm gonna watch it, but like I'm not gonna enjoy. But that's what's happening. There's this exhaustion of effects, which seems to be the catalyst of what people are pumping out there, and there's this loss of connection of real storytelling, right?
I'll give you an example, right? So look at the characters of the first 3 phases. Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man. He was selling weapons to whoever would buy him, and then he went through this whole thing, where he got kidnapped. He had this, his conscious changed, and then he's not. He felt like he needed to become something more than just what he was doing, and that he became Iron Man. You have Captain America, whose values are very strong. That he was a scrawny little guy, but then he really fights for what's good. And then you saw the nuance in storytelling in the Avengers movies, and when they were together, like how they play off each other. Even there's like themes that are going on. All this was all the stuff that Kevin Feige put together, and then I just feel like none of that is happening right now. None of that nuance is there. None of that storytelling in between all that sort of stuff. Like none of the arcs are there, right? Those, for example, Tony Stark being a father figure to Spider-Man in the MCU. That's a big arc that had a lot of things that happen in, how he goes away in Infinity War, and Tony Stark feels really depressed after that and doesn't want to be involved in anything superhero related. And then he brings it back in Endgame, and then there's arcs to all this. It just feels like we don't know what the arcs are between these new characters. How does Miss Marvel...
Do you think that the new characters are just not as compelling as the old ones?
How does Miss Marvel
fit in?
Connect to anyone? How does Hawkeye, the new Hawkeye, whatever, how does that fit in with any other? There's no, and that's where they've introduced Kang, but how does this all connect? We've seen little semblances in Shang-Chi, with the bands. Maybe they somehow are connected to Kang, and they sort of look similar to some of the stuff.
What's the next? What's the next one?
Next one is Guardians, I believe.
Yeah, no, it is
Guardians of the Galaxy, the last Guardians movie. So, I mean, I don't even know if that's going to be connected as well, because that's supposedly the end of the Guardians franchise. So, I mean, it's just I mean, it's while yes, we've got Kang, I still feel we are directionless in the MCU.
We shall see. We shall see. Well, mate, we've clocked over an hour on this one, so I think we're down to end. Thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Man.
Subscribe to the channel. Give us your thoughts. Ciao.